You know, you've studied the eye, but today it's so exciting that we're going to be able to look at an actual structure of an eye. And this is a cow eye, but as cows are mammals, we're mammals. Many of the structures of the cow eye are very similar to our eye. So we'll go over, most of these things are very similar. I'll point out some things that are kind of cool and unique about animals' eyes versus a human eye. But so first we're going to get started, and you know, normally this front surface of the eye, that's your cornea, that's the front structure. Normally, see how it's kind of contracted there, but normally it would be nice and tight and clear from the fluid that's behind it. But right now, of course, I'll show you some of that fluid in a minute. The major white structure here all around the eye is actually just fat tissue, adipose tissue. And this tissue is important because our eye, as we're going to see, has many different very delicate structures. And all those structures need to be protected, and the fat and the tissue surrounding it protect the eye from getting damaged, getting bumped. You know, you're all probably very active. If you play sports, it will help with that. So I'm going to remove some of that so we can show you some of the other structures though. So if we go through, and you know, I was sitting in a science class in middle school. I was junior high at the time. And that's when I started really becoming interested in the eye. And I went to my eye doctor and I liked it and I knew I wanted to be a doctor. But what I liked about the eye is there's so much you can learn about your general health through an eye. It's the only structure that you can really look right in and see inside your body. And you can see, you know, when I look in somebody's eye, I can see if they have problems with their blood pressure or if they have different medical conditions. So that's why I decided to study it. And if you study to become an optometrist, you go to college and you take a science course usually because you want to get some classes that help you prepare for the big test to apply to optometry school. So it's 4 years of college. Like I got physiology degree from Michigan State, and then you take a big test and you see if you can get into an optometry school. And optometry school is another 4 years learning about the parts of the eye, learning about how the eye relates to the body, and learning how to help people see better through glasses or contacts. So we got most of this, a lot of this off, where now we're going to see the eye muscles. So the muscles of the eye, here, look at that, are these brown structures. So this right here is one. Can you see those brown structures, which are like on your model eye, the red structures? And there's 6 different intraocular main eye muscles that are on the body of the eye to help the eye move up and down, left and right. So there's a superior, inferior, nasal and temporal, the lateral and temporal, lateral and medial rectus muscles. And then there's the superior and the inferior oblique muscle that has more of a turn. So superior, inferior, medial, and lateral rectus, and then the torsional, the turning ones. So that's that on the surface. Now we're going to look at the back surface, and we're going to find the optic nerve. So the optic nerve is like, I used to say telephone cord. It's HDMI cord now, I guess. It goes from the back of the eye like this, comes out from the back of the eye, and it goes all the way to the brain. So I don't know if you can see, I probably could do a little more digging, but trying to get it. Can you see that little structure coming out? But it's just, it goes all the way back to the brain. It's just, cut off. But you see that there, right there? That's the optic nerve. The optic nerve takes all the information that the eye collects on the retina, the picture that's made, and goes all the way to the back of the eye to the back of the brain. So actually, so you have your two eyeballs here, the nerve comes out, goes all the way, travels through all the parts of the brain to the occipital lobe, which is the back structure of the brain. And one of the interesting things about the fact that the visual system goes all the way from the eye to the brain is that if you have a concussion, a lot of times one of the tests you can do to see if you really, if you hit your head and you're playing a sport or you had an injury and they're not sure you have a concussion, one of the ways to tell if you have a concussion is we have you read across a page and you read across as fast as you can a bunch of numbers and you read as accurately. And so depending on how quickly you can read across the page, how easily you can read across the page, and if you miss any numbers or make any mistakes, that's a really good, a really bad sign that you probably had a concussion if you're not able to do that. Because the pathway, the brain got shaken up enough that those visual pathways got interrupted, and that tells us that that was more damage. So, and that's also a way, like I'll test my patients to see if they have that tracking problem. And then after they've rested after a concussion, we'll check them in like another month and they'll usually be back to normal if they follow the guidelines of their doctor. So that's one of the ways we can tell that from the eye to the brain, it's all those structures. So those are the parts on the outside of the eye. The main white structure underneath the fat is called the sclera, and it's really hard. It's we'll show you when I open the eye, when we show you the parts inside the eye, but that's the sclera, that's the hard outer edge. That's what keeps the eye shape and protects the eye. And we'll talk a little bit about the sclera and how the length of your eye is what causes your need to need glasses, but I'm gonna open this so I can show you better. So we're just gonna, so you just have to be careful that you just cut right down. And if you see, I don't know if you guys can see that there's fluid coming out. You see that liquid? So that liquid has vitamins in it. It's not just like a clear water. It has the vitamins that the front parts of your eye need to stay healthy and get the right vitamins. So that's the liquid called the aqueous humor. I don't know why they call it humor. None of you look like you're finding it super funny. So, but I'm going to cut through this. And then we'll open it up. The aqueous humor is what keeps the cornea nice and crystal clear because it keeps it nice and tight. But we'll talk about also if it gets too much pressure in the eye, you can have some problems. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But let me get this open. So you can also use scissors. We're cutting around the muscles. It's a little bit hard because you want the sclera is pretty tough. You want it to be, it's almost like, I guess it's not quite as hard as anybody open like a baseball. Have you ever seen like a baseball get cut or open? Like it's pretty tough, right? The outer, and it's hollow inside. So the outer structure of the eye is like a tennis ball or base. It's pretty tough, but we got through it. We're there. Okay. So now I'm going to put this back. I'll put this back. So the inside of the eye, in the animal, in the cow eye, the back, this structure that's kind of really flimsy and it's moving around here, but it's supposed to cover the entire back of the eye, is the retina. That gray, you see that gray part that I'm moving around? The retina is where it's like where the picture of everything that you see is made. It's made up in rods and cones that are different cells. Cones allow you to see color. And sometimes, actually 5% of males, boys, have a cone deficiency where they can't see red and green colors very well because their cones aren't developed that way. And rods are to help for seeing black and white in motion. So the light that goes through your pupil into the back of the eye hits your retina, and that's where the picture is made. The retina is pretty loose. It has a couple different places it's attached at. One of the places see how I can move it around, but it can't, it's stuck in one spot. That's where your optic disc is. So the very top layer of your retina, the retina is made of microns of thickness of layers, all these different layers. One of the layers is where the rods and cones are. One of the layers, the top layer, is the nerve fiber. So the nerve fiber layer is where the information of what you're seeing gets collected on. And then they have all these little axons, they're called axons. They're little wires that go down into the optic disc, and that's what this is. That's where see where I just took off most of it, but that part right there, let me get there. That is the optic disc. That's where it collects, and that's where on the other side, remember we had our little pointy part? That's where our optic nerve is coming out. So that's the part of the retina that's attached really hard. Okay, now, the black part of the eye, here I'll take. See, you can this layer can come off. That layer underneath the retina is called the choroid. It's usually black like that. The choroid is what absorbs the energy. So when light hits the back of the eye, the retina, and all those rods and cones are working and all those layers are working, it actually produces a lot of energy. And you don't want it to, you don't want it to get too hot. So the choroid actually absorbs the energy, cools off that energy. And the choroid also has blood vessels to give the eye oxygen. So the whole reason we have blood running through our bodies is because oxygen's in it, and the oxygen gives all the structures of the body, including the eye, energy to work. And you need oxygen for it all to work. Now, this pretty structure, this bluish color, this reflective color, this is a unique part of the animal eye. So sheep, cows, dogs, cats, they all have this back reflective coating that's called the tapetum lucidum. And the tapetum lucidum is a reflective coating that actually helps animals see at night. Because in the day, you don't need as much light in your eye, but those night animals, those animals that hunt at night, they need as much light as they can get. So the tapetum lucidum causes reflection in the eye so they can see better. So if you've ever seen your cat or dog, if you've seen animals at night, they've got they have their green eyes. You're seeing their tapetum lucidum. So you can tell your mom and dad, oh, that's just a tapetum lucidum, Mom. You guys got all that. Bet you they don't know that word. The tapetum lucidum. Now, Kate and I, we have a husky, a Pomsky at home. She's part husky, part Pomeranian. And she has one blue eye and she has one brown eye. And the one eye has a tapetum lucidum, so her one eye reflects green, and the other eye has a human, a red retina, and so she has red eyes. So in humans, we don't have this. We just have the red back surface of the eye inside. I won't open that up with my gloves yet. But see, so when you're everybody's seen photos of themselves where they see the red reflex, the red light, you're actually seeing your retina. You're seeing the reflection of the light going into your eye, and it's reflecting at the right spot where you can see the red back surface. So you're actually seeing your retina, which is why I liked optometry, because you can look right in the body just by looking through the pupil.
That's creepy.
Isn't that? It's amazing. So you're seeing your retina. So now the other part that fills the eye, so we've got all this space here that we need to keep full. We need to keep the shape of the eye. We have this jelly in the eye. And the jelly is called the vitreous. I don't know if you could see that. That is like jelly, and it fills the shape of the eye in the back. So that's the posterior segment, the vitreous. The vitreous starts out like jelly, like perfect. Like if you open your jar of jelly, it's perfect. It's all one piece, consistent and perfect. But as you age and as it changes and you can get little floaters, little spots in the gel of the eye that clump up, and it gets in the way of your vision. So we'll do the floater one, the little, yeah. The floater, so it looks like almost like a bug's in front of your eye, or there's like a little string. My patients will say, I've got something in my eye that keeps moving around with me. And when I move my head, it moves around. And that's because when it's in the gel of your eye and it can't get out. So usually what happens is it will settle to the bottom of the eye where you don't see it as much, or your brain just starts to ignore it because it kind of is annoying, because it gets in the way of your vision. But that was what sometimes it looks like. It looks like right in the middle of your vision, this little string is moving around. And that's the gel of your eye. Do you have a question?
Yeah. So like, I don't know if it's like a question or not, but like sometimes when I wake up, my eyes will have like little flakes in them almost. Is that normal?
On the lashes, yeah. So, you know, when you sleep, so that's a good, the one part of the eye that they didn't keep on our cow was the eyelid. And the eyelid and the eyelashes, you know, they're not just to be, you know, we like our eyelashes long, but they are actually, their job is to keep dust from getting in your eyes. So the lid, you know, when you blink, it goes across the cornea to clear it and clean it. And the eyelashes collect any dirt. So if you were at night and you just have you know, there's stuff in the air, that just might be on your lashes. Or if your eyes were a little watery and it dries like that, and there's salt in your, you know, there's a little bit on your eyelid. So I don't have, it doesn't show, but that's the part of the eyelid. So behind this gel, this vitreous, this jelly here, we have the lens of our eye. So now we're starting to work into the anterior part of the eye, the anterior segment, which is more the front, which is the lens and forward. So the lens of the eye, this one looks like a little pebble, right? It looks like a little oval. That's the lens of your eye. And the lens, really in our eyes, when you are born and through your 20s and 30s, it's crystal clear. And the lens is crystal clear, so again, the light can go through it to hit the retina. But the lens's main job is like a magnifying lens. The lens, as it moves forward and backward in your eye, it allows you to go from looking at your page and reading your words to looking up at me or looking at the poster and seeing it clearly. That lens has to move forward and backward to do that, for you to focus. But it's like an autofocus in our eye. We don't feel it, we don't see it, we don't notice it, that it's doing that. And over time, the lens will get cloudy like this. So ultraviolet from the sun comes into our eye and it can absorb into different structures. So when you're, over time, if you've been in the sun, like we all get out hopefully, you do, if you're not wearing sunglasses over time, and even if you do wear sunglasses, you're still gonna get some absorption of the ultraviolet, and you get what's called a cataract. And a cataract is when this lens starts to yellow. It goes from like crystal clear to like a milky white like this is to like yellow. And most of my patients start complaining about their vision, and I try and get them stronger, better, you know, clearer glasses, and I can't, because it's like they're looking through a dirty window. No matter what I do with glasses or contacts, it doesn't matter, because they can't see through the cloudy lens. And that's when you might have heard your grandparents getting cataract surgery, where they take out the cloudy lens and they put an artificial, like a plastic silicone lens in its place. So that's what the lens is. And then the part of the lens that helps it focus, I'll show you this. Let me get this out. Let me show you, because it's really amazing how you can see. Can you see all those, like, can you see the lines, like the striations? It looks like almost like spokes coming out from that. That's the ciliary body. The ciliary body is on the back of the iris, and it's what connects to the lens to make it go forward and backward. So the ciliary body actually has these little tendons on it. I used to call them muscles, but they're not muscles, and some of teachers, and I know for myself, it's not a muscle that you can keep strong and keep moving forward and backward easily. It's a tendon, and once you hit your 40s, your parents might be saying, you might go up to your parents and hold a piece of paper like up close to your phone or something and really close to them. They're like, push it back, because they can't see it, because their lens won't focus up close anymore. Like for me, actually, I'm wearing a contact in this eye that helps me see far, and I'm wearing a contact in this eye that helps me see up close, because I can't see to read anymore, because my lens won't move forward and backward anymore as well as it used to, because that tendon that's attached to the lens is hardening. It's just changing over time. So we'll take this out so I can show you it. So that's behind the iris, which is the colored part of your eye. That's what's attached to the lens to move it. I think I'm going to maybe cut this a little bit more. So let's see. Let's see if we can get this out in one piece. You could use one of these things, but I'm just using my... Actually, this kind of helps lift it up. All right. So the thing about the iris, the colored part of your eye, which we'll see in a second. My cow eye here has brown eyes, brown iris, which means that the brown iris is because it has a lot of pigment cells on it. The pigment cells are the color spots. So there we go. His pupil's a little, usually it's a little more round, but see that? So the iris is the surface, is the color part of your eye. It has different pigment spots. The more pigment spots you have on the iris, the darker your eye is. So like this cow, it's got a dark iris. The light colored eyes, like my eyes, some eyes if you have blue, gray, green, you have less color pigment. When you have less color pigment, when you have lighter eyes, you probably might notice that you might be really bothered by recess in the sun outside, where your friend with darker eyes might not be as bothered because not as much light is going through because their iris is darker. So here in the middle of the eye is the pupil. Now the thing about the pupil, the middle is, it's just a window, right? Like there's nothing in the pupil. It's not a structure. It's not something we can touch. I'm putting my, it's just an opening. And the pupil is controlled by the iris to open and close it. So it opens and closes depending on how bright out it is. So who can tell me, raise your hand, on recess, not today, but if it was a bright sunny day, what do you think your iris would do to your pupil? What would it do?
It would close it.
It would Correct. It would close. It would close up, right? And then if you're at the movies and you're in the dark, what does it do? Bigger the more light gets in. Well, one of the problems when I'm doing my eye exam is I'm using a lot of lights to look into your eye. And the minute I do that, the minute I put my light in your eye, your pupils get small and I can't see very well inside. So most of my patients, we use dilating drops, eye drops that we put in your eye that can help the iris stay wide open. It's called dilating drops. Has anybody been dilated? Yep. So the two things that the dilating drops do, one, okay, it might sting for 20 seconds, a little bit. But if anybody's been in a chlorinated pool, you guys have survived, it's not a problem. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't last. The other thing is after 15, 20 minutes, it opens up your pupil so it's nice and big. So when I shine my lights in, it doesn't go back small. And it also makes your eye lens not able to focus forward and backward, which makes you blurry up close. It doesn't affect your distance. So actually for kids, because your eyes move forward and backward a lot, if I'm checking you and trying to figure out your prescription, I've never seen you before, and you're younger and your eye muscles are doing all sorts of things, I like to check your prescription when your eyes settle down, when your eyes are dilated and your eye lens can't move forward and backward. That gives me a better prescription. So a lot of times I dilate kids because I want to check your prescription better or what the power of your eyes is. And also I need to see inside without your pupil getting small. So that's what the iris and the pupil does. So now we've gotten past the cornea, the iris. So here, or the iris and the lens, now we're to the cornea. So this cornea really should be crystal clear, like all of our corneas. There's no blood vessels in it. It actually gets, so there's the white part of your eye that you can see, the white on the surface. That's not the sclera, that's the conjunctiva. that has the blood vessels that on the edges feed the cornea. You know how I know if somebody's sleeping in their contacts and wearing them too long? I look at their cornea. If their cornea has little blood vessels growing into it, that means that there are too many hours in their contact. They're not getting enough oxygen from the air, and so the blood vessels are trying to grow in to give it oxygen. So that's how I can tell sometimes. So this cornea should be crystal clear, and the way it's made crystal clear is the collagen, the structures that make up the cornea are in they're layered a certain way to make it crystal clear. They're all in one direction, so it's clear. The white of your eye is a different collagen structure, so it's not organized that way, so it's not clear. So the cornea, as you can see, it's not perfectly a perfect like round shape. It's a little bit oval, and what that does is when it's oval, almost like football shape, when the light goes into your eye, instead of like if your eye was perfectly round, and you guys will learn this in physics probably, but if it's perfectly round, when you go into a perfectly round structure, anywhere the light comes through, it's all going to hit at an exact point. It's going to be perfect, crisp, nice, like a letter. It's all going to be a crisp, perfect, perfect point. But if your eye's more oval, and if it's really more oval that it's detectable, it's noticeable, one light beam's gonna go one way, one light beam's gonna go the other way. They're not gonna exactly line up. So patients will say, I see shadowing, I see like double letters, or when I drive at night, all the lights look like sparkly or glare. And that's because they have what's called astigmatism, or they have, because of the ovalness of their eye, they need a prescription in their glasses or their contacts to make it so that that light lines up perfect again, so you can see nice and crisp. So that's what astigmatism is. And then, so that's what astigmatism is when we test your eyes. Remember I said the sclera was the hard structure, and that controls the length of the eye. So my eye is physically too long. Can you tell that my eye is physically too long? No, it's inside, it's the sclera, it's the structure. So my eye is physically too long, I'm nearsighted or myopic, so that means that when the light goes in, it just doesn't hit the back of the eye where it should. It just doesn't get there. It needs to travel. It's too long, so the light doesn't get to it. It stops before it gets to the retina. So my contacts and my glasses move the light, bend it or move it so that it hits the back of the eye, the retina. Now, some of you might have to wear reading glasses when you're like kindergarten, first, second grade. Sometimes you have your eyes physically a little bit too short. So the light actually, it doesn't physically pass through, but it's not focusing. The real focus would be actually further back, and you can't make your eye do that. So the glasses have to make your eye, what you're seeing, focus on the back of the eye. So the only reason anybody needs glasses is because of the length of their eye and the curve of their eye. So the one thing, we used to not be able to control that, right? It was just, it is what it is. You need glasses and you wear them or contacts. But now this sclera, you can put eye drops at bedtime and it slows down the growth, sort of like braces. So some of you already have braces to try and control the way your teeth are going to grow and come in. Now we can try and control how long the eye gets. So some of you, where I never had that chance, I just have to wear contacts and glasses for everything. Some of you, if you get your eyes checked and we start seeing that you're becoming a little bit needing nearsighted, that you are slightly your eyes longer, we try and slow it down with drops or special contacts. So that's something amazing that I've never did until the last 5 years. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a few things. How are we doing? Good? We're going to talk about, remember when we saw that fluid coming out of the eye? We saw fluid coming out, and that fluid is what gives here, I'm going to take my gloves off for a second. And the fluid gives the vitamins for the front parts of the eye. So if I open this up, we've got our cornea, we've got our iris, and we've got our lens. And on the iris or the ciliary body, one of the other jobs of the ciliary body is to make that fluid come out. And the fluid has to go, it kind of goes in a pattern, like it goes up, forward, and backward, and it cycles through the front parts of the eye. And if not enough fluid comes out and drains out, or too much, the ciliary body makes too much fluid, then you get pressure. And pressure on the eye actually pushes on the nerve and causes nerve damage over time. So when you come to the eye doctor, they measure your pressure. We measure it in a way, not with this pointy thing. We measure with a soft instrument that comes up just close, just barely on the tears. And it's not a puff or anything, doesn't make a noise, it's just a little couple beeps, and it measures the pressure of your eye. And the pressure in a normal human eye should be between 10 and 20. If your pressure is like 25, if it's too high, then if you every day it's 25 and you start getting in your 40s, 50s, you might start showing damage to your eye and side vision damage. So, but the pressure, raise your hand if you think you can feel that pressure of 25. Do you think it's something like you can feel, you get a headache? Who thinks you feel that pressure? All right. And how many of you think maybe you don't feel it? A lot of us don't. So you would think, I would think if I didn't, before I went to optometry school, I would think, well, pressure, when you hear the word pressure, it sounds like you would feel it, right? Like you'd feel it and you'd know to go to the eye doctor and you would get it checked. But actually, you don't feel the pressure in your eye. So that's why one of the main reasons it's really important, even if you're seeing well, to get your eye pressure checked. Because as that pressure pushes on all these structures and pushes on the nerve, if you hold your hand up and do this and look through your hands, you get like tunnel vision. So the nerve fibers that are damaged on the retina first are your side vision. So here's the problem. We call it the silent disease because you don't see this out here, until it gets like, go like this, and then you're seeing clear in the center, but you're bumping into things and you can't drive anymore because you can't see, because that's the pressure over years and years and years. Your nerve got damaged and nobody noticed it because you didn't feel it and you didn't see it. So it's like that picture where you can see the center, but everything off to the side gets blurry. And that condition is called glaucoma. And glaucoma is when the pressure in your eye is too high for you, and it pushes on your nerve, and it causes your side vision to get damaged. So we check your pressure, and we check your pressure, and we do a side vision test. It's actually cool. We have now a virtual reality, like an AI headset that you put on, and you click a button when you see the lights, and make sure you see all the lights to the side and center. So that's a condition. That's one of the main leading conditions that I see that causes serious blindness. The other condition that is one that we really, that we can try and protect our eyes from is macular degeneration. And the macula is the fovea, or the most detailed information. The most rods and cones are there for your detail, for color, for what you see, what you read. That's on your retina. And that macula is very sensitive. Because remember we said you create a lot of energy when the light hits your eye, and you need healthy vitamins to take that energy away, to absorb it, and to not damage the eye. So the three things that keep your macula healthy are, one, eating healthy fruits and vegetables. We already say this? We didn't do the carrot thing, right? This is my third one, so I'm like, okay. So one, the things that protect your macula are eating your healthy fruits and vegetables, so like kale, spinach, blueberries are good, eggs are good. Things that are high in lutein and zeaxanthin are good for your eyes. Any vegetable, any fruit, like you've all heard, eat your carrots, that carrots are good for your eyes. Well, one of your classmates in an earlier hour reminded me and told the story is carrots aren't actually special for your eyes. They don't have high amounts of lutein and zeaxanthin. They're not bad, but they're not like kale or spinach that are really high in those things. But way back when the Navy was developing a special way to check for enemy boats, the enemies were like, well, how did you do that? And the U.S. didn't want to tell their secrets, so they said, oh, we feed our Navy, we feed our soldiers carrots, and that's why their vision's so good, and that's why they can see your boats. So that's supposedly where that came from, which is kind of a funny story. So the other thing that can damage the macula that we talked about a little bit, that can damage the eye and different structures, is too much sunlight. And sunlight, it is good to get outside. Actually, you know how I was talking about there's eye drops now that try and control you from needing glasses, and there's special contacts? Well, the other studies have also shown that if you guys get outside and you're outside for 2 hours or more a day, outside, it's actually good. It shows that those kids show less development of needing thick glasses for seeing far away. So that's another benefit to getting outside. You know, it's great to get our homework done and you do our iPads and stuff, but if you can get outside and shoot baskets, run around, be outside, it helps your eyes. They don't know why. Is it that you're not reading and that's getting your focus out and it's not stimulating the sclera to grow? Is it that you're looking at infinity and there, you know, either your eyes can go and there's just an open space? Is it the sunlight that is in some ways is helping? We don't know why. But getting outside is the other way to help your eyes. But if you get too much UV, you have to block your eyes from ultraviolet because that can damage the macula. And then the third thing that can damage the macula is smoke. So smoking, vaping, things that expose the macula to smoke are very damaging. It's very sad because I see some of my patients come in and the condition, so glaucoma takes your side vision. That's no good, right? The macular degeneration, which is a degeneration of those cones and those structures right in the center, takes away your central vision. So you start to not to be able to recognize people's faces. I don't know if we have the picture of that one, where it's almost like if you put your fist right in front, if you close one eye and put your fist right in front of your hand, you can still see, like I can see some of you guys over here, I can see you guys over here, but I can't see Liv and Lauren. I can't see you guys, you know, because my macula, my central best vision is damaged. Like the girl here, you could see her with your healthy macula, but you'd start to notice that your face is blurry. And macular degeneration is the leading cause of blindness, and it's from generally sun exposure too much, without sunglasses, not having a good diet full of healthy fruits and vegetables and vitamins, and being exposed to smoke. So those are the things you guys can control a lot about your eye health. Getting outside, eating the right things, staying away from the wrong things, and wearing sunglasses. You have a lot of control over your health of your body and your eyes. So that's really a good thing to know. And getting your eyes checked so that you know. The one thing is, like, getting your eyes checked helps us look at inside your eye, even if you don't need glasses. So for my patients, I see them when they're actually I see little babies, which is kind of fun. I see babies, I see from 3-year-olds to 5-year-olds and on up, because everybody has just a different thing we're looking at.